Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Susan Hayward, a fiery screen presence and Hollywood icon. Susan Hayward, born Edythe Marrenner, June 30, 1917 to March 14, 1975, was an American actress celebrated for her emotionally charged performances, fierce screen presence, and ability to embody resilient, complex women. Rising from humble beginnings in Brooklyn to become one of Hollywood's most bankable and respected stars of the 1940s and 1950s. Hayward carved out a place in film history with her raw intensity and Oscar-winning performance in I Want to Live. 1958. Early life and beginnings. Hayward grew up in a working-class family in Brooklyn, New York. Determined and ambitious, she modeled part-time while holding down a series of regular jobs. In 1937, she traveled to Hollywood to audition for the role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, a part she didn't win, but the trip cracked open the door to her acting future. With her striking red hair, strong features, and fiery attitude, she quickly stood out among new actresses. Breakthrough and rise to stardom. Hayward's early roles often cast her as tough, no-nonsense women, matching her natural demeanor. Films like Beau Geste, 1939, and Reap the Wild Wind, 1942, showed her range, but it was smash up. The Story of a Woman, 1947, in which she played a singer spiraling into alcoholism, that earned her first Academy Award nomination and solidified her dramatic reputation. Through the late 1940s and 1950s, she was one of Hollywood's most versatile top-billed actresses, often playing women pushed to the edge but powered by inner steel. Her signature performances balanced vulnerability with explosive emotional power. Signature performances. Hayward earned 5 Academy Award nominations throughout her career. Highlights include My Foolish Heart, 1949, a romantic drama showcasing her emotional nuance. With a Song in My Heart, 1952, Hayward portrayed singer Jane Froman, blending glamour with grit in a role that required deep empathy. I'll Cry Tomorrow, 1955, as singer Lillian Roth, she delivered one of her rawest performances, confronting themes of addiction and recovery with honesty unusual for the era. I Want to Live, 1958, her powerhouse turn as condemned woman Barbara Graham finally earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Hayward's performance remains a landmark in crime drama, celebrated for its intensity and authenticity. Screen persona and legacy. Susan Hayward became synonymous with strong, determined heroines, women who fought, suffered, loved boldly, and endured. Off-screen, she had the same steeliness. Known for her professionalism and perfectionism, she demanded excellence from herself and pushed every role to its emotional limits. Her career helped redefine women's dramatic roles in mid-century Hollywood. Today, she is remembered as one of the premier actresses of the 20th century, admired for her bravery in taking on dark, complicated characters long before such roles became common. Personal life and final years. Hayward married twice and was a devoted mother to twin sons. Her life was marked by both triumph and hardship, including health struggles later in life. She died in 1975 at age 57 after battling cancer, leaving behind a legacy of unforgettable performances and a reputation as one of Hollywood's strongest dramatic actresses. Further expansion on Susan Hayward's rise through the studio system. Hayward's early years in Hollywood were classic, studio-era boot camp. Signed initially to Warner Brothers, and later to Paramount and 20th Century Fox, she worked steadily through small roles, learning the rhythms of screen acting. Although she didn't fit the ingenue mold, her presence was too sharp, too self-possessed. This ultimately became her advantage. She built her career on intensity, complexity, and emotional punch, distinguishing herself from softer, lighter contemporaries. During World War II, she appeared in a mix of adventure films and musicals, but her dramatic instincts always pulled her toward heavier material. A dramatic actress in a musical world in the early 1950s, musicals dominated the box office. Hayward wasn't a trained singer, but she stunned audiences with A Song in My Heart, 1952. Playing singer Jane Froman. Although her vocals were dubbed, Hayward's emotional delivery made the role one of her most celebrated. She studied Froman's physicality, mannerisms, and emotional history, earning widespread praise for capturing the singer's resilience after a devastating plane crash. This performance reinforced her reputation as an actress who could portray real-life women with dignity and psychological richness, a rare skill at the time. The Hayward archetype. Strength under fire. By the mid-1950s, Susan Hayward was a box office powerhouse. Audiences came to expect a certain kind of role from her. A woman pushed to extremes, a turbulent emotional arc, a mix of toughness and vulnerability, a climactic breakdown or breakthrough scene. Rather than resisting this typecasting, Hayward sharpened it into an art form. She played flawed but fiercely human women at a time when Hollywood often preferred polished, idealized female characters. Climactic masterpiece, I Want to Live. Her 1958 Oscar-winning performance as Barbara Graham remains the definitive Susan Hayward role. The film follows Graham, a woman with a checkered past, as she is convicted of murder and sentenced to death. Hayward's portrayal is emotionally shattering. She captures Graham's fear, desperation, and flashes of insolent bravado. The final scenes, in which Graham faces execution, are some of the most haunting moments in 1950s cinema. Critics still cite this film as an example of an actress elevating the entire production with sheer force of will and emotional truth. Later career and shifting roles. By the 1960s, Hayward worked less frequently, choosing her projects carefully. She appeared in Backstreet, 1961, a glossy melodrama showcasing her glamour. The Conqueror, 1956, a troubled production later linked to multiple cast illnesses. Where Love Has Gone, 1964, a campy high drama tale co-starring Bette Davis. Valley of the Dolls, 1967. Hayward was initially cast but ultimately replaced due to health issues even as she stepped back from Hollywood. She remained respected as one of its most uncompromising stars. Personal battles, triumphs, and mythology. Hayward's personal life contained heartbreak and resilience that mirrored the characters she played. Marriage to Jess Barker ended in a turbulent divorce. Second husband, Georgia rancher Eaton Chalkley, helped bring stability and faith into her life. His death in 1966 devastated her. Her cancer diagnosis led to widespread speculation related to filming The Conqueror near nuclear testing sites, a tragic footnote in Hollywood lore. Despite her hardships, Hayward remained private, proud, and strong-willed, never exploiting her struggles for publicity. Legacy. Today, Susan Hayward is remembered as one of the greatest dramatic actresses of Hollywood's golden age, a pioneer in portraying addiction, trauma, and resilience with honesty, a performer who forged a career on intensity, not glamour, a symbol of emotional fearlessness on screen. Her filmography remains a masterclass in dramatic storytelling, and younger performers often study her work to understand how to command a screen through sheer emotional gravity. More on Susan Hayward, craft, reputation, and the woman beneath the legend. Acting style, precision plus emotional voltage. Hayward wasn't a method actress in the modern sense, but she had a laser-focused approach to craft. 1. Emotional authenticity. She didn't rely on theatrics, she felt her way through a character. Her emotional peaks were thunderous but never hammy. Directors routinely said she worked from the inside out. 2. Physical discipline. Hayward carried herself with the poise of a dancer. Even in her toughest roles, her movements were clean, controlled, and intentional. Watch any scene of her breaking down. Her posture alone tells a story. 3. Eyes as weapons. Few actresses could communicate anger, fear, defiance, or heartbreak the way Hayward could with a single look. Her eyes burned. They dared you to feel what she was feeling. 4. Controlled vulnerability. She didn't play victims. Even when her characters suffered, she injected a fierce dignity that made them compelling instead of pitiable. Behind the scenes. Susan Hayward. The person Hayward had a reputation for being checkmark professional. She showed up prepared, knowing her lines, ready to work, no diva antics. Checkmark private. She rarely played the Hollywood publicity game. Her personal life was her own, which made her seem mysterious and more grown-up than many contemporaries. Checkmark strong-willed. If something wasn't right, script, lighting, direction, she spoke up. Not rudely, just firmly. She protected her craft. Checkmark tough because she had to be. Hayward faced rejections, breakups, lawsuits, health crises, and tragedy. She didn't crumble. She reinvented herself. People close to her often described her as sensitive beneath the armor, someone who felt deeply and carried emotional memories long after a role ended. Cultural impact. Women saw themselves in her. Hayward's rise coincided with a moment in American culture when women were starting to push against traditional expectations. She became a screen symbol for women balancing strength and vulnerability. Survivors of trauma. Women who loved fiercely, suffered deeply, and still kept moving. People who made mistakes but refused to be defined by them. Her performances resonated because they felt real. Long-standing rumors and Hollywood lore. A few ongoing legends surround Susan Hayward. 1. The Conqueror Curse. The 1956 film shot near nuclear testing sites in Utah. Many cast and crew, including Hayward, John Wayne, Agnes Moorehead, and director Dick Powell, later developed cancer. While the connection can't be medically proven, the story became part of Hollywood tragedy lore. 2. Her exit from Valley of the Dolls. Hayward was originally cast as Helen Lawson, the tough, legendary Broadway star. After feuds with director Mark Robson and health issues, she quit, or was let go, depending on the source. The role went to Susan Strasberg and then to Patty Duke, but fans still imagine Hayward's version. 3. Her quiet final years. Hayward didn't make a public spectacle of her illness. Dignified as always, she retreated from the spotlight and focused on her sons and close friends. Influence on modern actresses. Actresses who show shades of Susan Hayward in their work include Jessica Chastain, emotional intensity plus precision. Julianne Moore, raw honesty in trauma roles. Amy Adams, subtlety that erupts into volcanic emotion. Frances McDormand, grit wrapped around vulnerability. Viola Davis, unfiltered emotional truth. Hayward's style was ahead of its time, grounded, visceral, and psychologically layered in an era when melodrama was the norm. Why she still matters. Susan Hayward's legacy endures because she represents something enduring in cinema. A woman who refused to be small. A performer who burned through every frame. A reminder that strength and fragility can coexist. Her films continue to be studied, admired, and rewatched because they offer something rare: characters who are flawed, human, and unforgettable. Even more on Susan Hayward, the films, the accolades, and the life between the lines. A filmography with commentary. The roles that build a legend. Early and breakthrough roles. Beau Geste, 1939, a small part, but it put her in the same frame as Gary Cooper, and Hollywood noticed. Adam had 4 sons, 1941, a refined melodrama where Hayward played a calculating, manipulative woman, a preview of the emotional fire she'd soon unleash. I Married a Witch, 1942, she appeared opposite Veronica Lake and Frederick March, a light and charming fantasy that showed Hayward's comedic potential, though she'd rarely get to use it again. The Ascension, mid-1940s to late 1950s, The Fighting Seabees, 1944, she starred opposite John Wayne. Their chemistry wasn't romantic so much as two strong personalities colliding on screen, still fascinating. Smash Up, The Story of a Woman, 1947, her first Oscar nomination. She played an alcoholic singer whose life crumbles. Critics said she revealed a volcano where a starlet once stood. My Foolish Heart, 1949, a doomed love drama based on a J.D. Salinger story. Sentimental but powerful, and another Oscar nomination. With a Song in My Heart, 1952, as singer Jane Froman, she delivered heart and grit in equal measure. Even though her singing was dubbed, the emotional truth was all her own. The President's Lady, 1953, she portrayed Rachel Jackson, wife of Andrew Jackson, Charlton Heston. The film blended romance, tragedy, and old-school Americana. And Hayward carried it with quiet dignity. I'll Cry Tomorrow, 1955, another real-life singer. Another deep dive into addiction and recovery. Hayward captured Lillian Roth's trauma with stunning realism. Some fans consider this her greatest performance. I Want to Live, 1958, the role of a lifetime. Barbara Graham, petty criminal. Party girl, mother, survivor, facing the death penalty. Hayward's portrayal is intimate and explosive. The execution scene remains one of classic Hollywood's most emotionally gutting moments. Oscar win, Delivered. The Later Years, 1960 to 1972, Backstreet, 1961, glossy melodrama, but Hayward added sophistication and pain to what could have been simple soap. Where Love Has Gone, 1964, a splashy scandal film, loosely inspired by the sensational Lana Turner, Cheryl Crane case. Her intense dynamic with Bette Davis is the highlight. The Honey Pot, 1967, a lighter, stylish Joseph Mankiewicz comedy mystery where she showed surprising comedic timing. Say Goodbye, Maggie Cole, 1972. TV, her final performance, beautifully understated. She played a compassionate doctor in a small town. It felt like Hayward saying goodbye with tenderness rather than fire. Awards and honors. A career of emotional high notes. Hayward earned 5 Academy Award nominations, all for Best Actress, Smash Up. The Story of a Woman, 1947, My Foolish Heart, 1949, With a Song in My Heart, 1952, I'll Cry Tomorrow, 1955, I Want to Live. 1958, when she also won 2 Golden Globes, the Cannes Film Festival Award for Best Actress, for I'll Cry Tomorrow, numerous awards from critics' circles and industry guilds. She was one of the few actresses of her time whose popularity matched her critical acclaim. Off-screen life, heartbreak, hard work, and a search for peace. Marriage to Jess Barker, 1944 to 1954. Their relationship was turbulent, marked by fights, lawsuits, and custody battles over their twin sons. The divorce was highly public and emotionally devastating for Hayward. Twin sons born in 1945, Gregory and Timothy. Hayward adored them and remained a fiercely protective mother. Her letters show a softer, vulnerable side she rarely allowed the public to see. Love with Eaton Chalkley, 1957 to 1966, her second husband, a Georgia rancher and businessman, became the steady, grounding presence she'd long needed. His death from hepatitis shattered her. Friends said she was never quite the same afterward. Health struggles in her final years. The cancer diagnosis in the late 1960s led to a quiet, painful chapter. Hayward stepped back from Hollywood, spending time between California and Georgia, close to the people who mattered most. Her death in 1975 at age 57 felt shockingly premature, and it sealed her legend as one of Hollywood's tragic, incandescent figures. Why her legacy lasts: she didn't rely on glamour, she relied on truth. She didn't shy away from pain, she mined it for art. She didn't fade into caricature, she sharpened her roles into something real. Susan Hayward remains a masterclass in screen power. A performer who could be devastating with a whisper or unforgettable at full emotional blast. Susan Hayward. The deeper layers, the intensity, the myths, the humanity, how she prepared, that famous Hayward focus. Hayward wasn't loud about her craft, but she had a process. She rehearsed alone. Co-stars said she often kept to herself between scenes, running emotional beats in her head, almost like she was winding a spring. She memorized every detail, not just lines, cues, timing, blocking, even where props were placed. She liked control. It made her feel safe within the emotional storm she had to create. She avoided over-socializing on set, not because she was unfriendly, but because she didn't want to leak the emotional intensity she was saving for the camera. She protected quiet before a big scene. She often asked for minimal noise, a kind of sacred space. This is why her performances feel lived, not acted. She built her own emotional bubble around every character. On set reputation. Tough, respectful, nobody's doormat. Hollywood crews had a nickname for her, the fiery pro. She wasn't flaky. She wasn't messy, and she definitely wasn't a pushover. When something was wrong, she said so, lighting off. Script sloppy? Director sloppy? She'd call it out, calmly, directly, with the energy of someone who'd survived too much to play games. Directors loved her work ethic, even the difficult ones. She delivered final takes that were usable on the first try. Co-stars respected her, even the big names, Wayne, Cooper, Heston, treated her as an equal. But she hated prima donnas. If another actress showed up late, wasted time, or relied on "I'm famous" behavior, Hayward's patience evaporated. She wasn't snobby, she just respected the craft too much to tolerate nonsense. Anecdotes and rare stories. 1. The smash-up breakdown scene. There's a famous story about a scene where her character collapses drunk and breaks down. She filmed it in one take. 1. The crew applauded. Hayward walked off set quietly, went into her dressing room, and cried for 20 minutes to decompress. 2. Her hidden humor. People assumed she was all fire. But in private settings? Wicked. Dry sense of humor. She liked one-liners. She liked teasing her friends. She could roast someone with a glance, lovingly. 3. The Georgia ranch years. When she lived in Georgia with Eaton Chalkley, locals were shocked by how normal she was. She cooked, she gardened, she helped neighbors in quiet, anonymous ways. She loved horses, dogs, and being outdoors. Hollywood was work. Georgia was home. 4. Her loyalty to Jane Froman. After With a Song in My Heart, Hayward and Jane Froman stayed close. Hayward always said that of all the women she portrayed, Froman was the one who helped her the most. 5. The champagne story. On her Oscar night, she famously walked across the stage with a regal, gliding grace. Afterward, she celebrated with fried chicken and champagne. Peak Hayward. The emotional core of her characters. Hayward excelled at playing women at war with themselves. Alcoholism in Smash Up, trauma in I'll Cry Tomorrow, fear in I Want to Live. Lovers who loved too hard. Her romances always felt real because she let the messy emotions through. Fighters. Every Hayward character pushes against the world, and sometimes against herself. And audiences connected with her because they saw their own strength and struggle reflected back at them. Her final years, quiet grace in her last years, Hayward moved softly through life. She saw close friends, spent time with her sons, and kept to peaceful routines. People who visited her said she still had that spark in her eyes, that dry, playful wit, that fierce dignity. Even when her body was weakened, her spirit stayed unmistakably Susan. She didn't want pity, she wanted peace. And she carried that grace until the very end. The essence of Susan Hayward, if you had to sum her up in one idea, it might be this: she was a flame that refused to go out quietly. She fought for herself. She fought for her characters. She fought for truth in performance. Her legacy isn't just great films, it's the emotional honesty she brought to an era that often preferred polished illusions. That's why she still feels modern. Why she still feels alive. Why people are still asking about her today, including you.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.